Ooh, the heat is rising in Hollywood. That's because the entertainment industry, two of the biggest people in it, people behind movies like Moneyball and Captain Phillips, are now issuing apologies for some racially barbed comments they made about President Obama.
Well, according to hacked emails, producer Scott Rudin and Sony executive Amy Pascal mocked the president, joking that he liked only black comedians in movies like 12 Years a Slave and Django, also Unchained. So where is the outrage? What if these two had been Republicans? How would it be covered? Republican strategist Lisa Booth is the executive director of the BlackRock Group and joins us now. Good morning. Thanks for being with us.
Hi, Anna. Thanks for having me.
So you say there's a double standard here. What do you mean by that?
There is absolutely a double standard, and we see examples of this all the time. As you just mentioned, these top Sony executives, who also happen to be top liberal donors, are essentially getting away with making racially disparaging remarks about the president of the United States. Can you imagine if that was the Koch brothers, who happen to be, big Republican donors? The media would have their heads. And, there's no clearer example of this in recent time than the Elizabeth Lawton scandal. She's the Republican staffer who made insensitive and wrong-headed remarks about President Obama's children on her own personal Facebook page, and it created a national media firestorm. There were network news vans camped outside of her parents' house. Meanwhile, at the exact same time, there was a prominent Democrat staffer who pled guilty to raping and drugging two women, and it didn't garner that kind of national media attention. There were no network news vans camped outside of his parents' home.
Well, you know exactly why that is, because they're lefties, so they get the benefit of the doubt from their fellow lefties in the press. Let's put up on the screen. This is not just an opinion. This is a fact. We can prove it. Scott Rudin, probably the most famous producer in L.A., 12,500 to Democrats and Democratic causes since '92. Amy Pascal, she had a Sony, $5,000 to Obama's reelection campaign, and 31,000 almost to the DNC. So the point is, they're liberals in good standing. They can't be racist. Isn't that it?
That's exactly what it is. And it's absolutely ridiculous. And as a Republican, I just find it, it's infuriating, to be honest with you. And let's look at this past election cycle as well. The media likes to portray Republicans as if there's some sort of war on women. Yet there was a South Carolina candidate who was a Democrat that referred to Nikki Haley in an incredibly disparaging way that I can't even tell you on national television. But yet somehow Republicans have this war on women. I mean, it's absolutely insane.
What do you think it would take for the liberal media to cover this a bit more strongly?
I don't quite know. I mean, I continue to think, what rises to the level of, holding these individuals accountable. I mean, these Sony executives making these kind of comments about the sitting president of the United States, you would think that would rise to the level of holding these people accountable and asking them to resign.
Yeah, well, Sharpton is calling for that. I gotta say, wouldn't it be nice if we could all just agree that jokes are jokes? You get your jokes, and I get my jokes, and we all kind of agree not to push for each other's firing based on jokes. Would a total across-the-board de-escalation on humor. Would you be for that?
Well, I mean, I'd like to see, people being rightfully held accountable on both sides of the aisle. It's just not fair to be attacking, Republicans for something like the Elizabeth Lawton thing, but yet let someone who's raped and drugged two women get away with that kind of behavior. I'd like to see some justice on both sides of the aisle.
The great Lisa Booth. Very
Thank you,
articulate
Tucker.
for
Thank you,
7:20
Anna.
in the morning. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.